just going to give my final comments, re Atlantic and re TJH in a sense. Well, I'll just take Atlantic. So what Dina was trying to explain to you, Kalilah, was that with a leverage buyout, what happens is that the company that's acquired usually assumes the debt to facilitate the deal. So in the case of Atlantic, the company bought back 140 shares from the owners. So they paid $1.5 billion, and that was facilitated by the addition of debt onto Atlantic Hardware's books. And the shareholders, in this case, Construct Group, General Accident Lumber Depot, would have bought the remaining 60 shares, directly from the former owners, and that's how we get the current ownership structure. So there is equity from Lumber, Construct, and General Accident on their balance sheets in Atlantic, but Atlantic would have assumed most of the cost of the acquisition. So, LBOs or leverage buyouts are very typical in the North American market, and you don't tend to see them pop up in the public domain like that, which is why for so many persons, it's kind of hard to appreciate what's taking place with the company. Now, I appreciate the fact that, the company was a family-owned business for 30 years. It's under new management, so we're not yet in a space or sphere to understand what's the plan going forward. I'm not buying the IPO, and it just comes down to the fact that it's hard for me to gauge what's really going on with the fact that the company has a massive debt book, or a debt balance, while they're going to reduce with the IPO and the sale of the property. I don't have a full grasp in terms of the full reduced interest costs between the sale of property right there, between the IPO, because the lead broker reserve pool says the persons in tranche of that bond have the option to convert their debt into equity. So in a sense, it's not really attractive to many retail investors at the moment, but I'm looking forward to see, what this company will do going forward and how it will strategically lower that debt balance to a lower cost, because it's around 14% average right now, and also stick to that targeted proposal, which was 40% dividend policy based on their profits. So those are just my 2 cents on the Atlantic deal.
Atlantic. Before we get to TJH, let me ask Leo, have you had a chance to look at the Atlantic IPO?
I mean, I did take a look on it. However, of course, as you can understand, I can't really say much about it.
Right, you guys are the lead broker.
Yeah,
So.
because we are the lead broker, so yeah, so I can't really comment one way or the other. But of course, all the information is out there. Of course, you'd expect the different houses, financial houses, to give their opinion, and then the investing public can take it from there. So yeah, I don't have any comments.
Understood. What about the TJH offer for sale that came out today?
Yeah, man. Well, I saw it. Of course, I think there was probably a slip up because I saw something before publicly announced. But anyway, so it's out. It's about 9 billion if it fully upsizes, and fully upsizes, everybody takes it up, everything. So that's a fairly large raise. Interesting to see how that's gonna play out tomorrow in the markets. Meaning, because what you can see sometimes with these IPOs is that it can actually cause a drawdown in the overall market as some persons try to cash out the other investments to go in. I think the pricing relative to what it was, I think it closed at 390. This is at 360, so there's a discount there. So of course, reasonably, you can expect that the stock price is likely to go lower starting again tomorrow. Well, it's been going lower because I guess it was out there that this was gonna come. So now that it's out there, it's likely that the price is actually set. It's likely to trade down towards that price, or maybe a little bit lower, but down towards that price. So it's interesting to see how that plays out. But overall, though, TransJamaica has been doing very well. The most recent earnings from them, revenue was up, profit was up. The dividends are coming steadily to investors. Everything is up. So I think,
and they still haven't started charging on the mandible leg yet. So
yeah, so there's a lot of room there for them to continue to perform. So I think it does look good that the size, 9 billion, so that can be hefty in this market, especially because the market activity isn't as it was, prior to COVID, like 2019. So, but overall, though, I think it's gonna be an interesting one, and then one sale, and then IPO in the market there at the same time. So let's see how all of that plays out.
David,
Interesting times.
do you think the government strategically saved these extra shares for sale 5 years later? Because the first IPO they raised, I think it was $5 billion at $1 per share. And now they're about to raise $9 billion by selling fewer shares, if I'm not mistaken, because the price has appreciated so much.
So just to clarify, Kalilah, that was a $14 billion raise, not a $5 billion raise.
Oh, where I get $5 billion from? Okay, never mind.
So,
Scratch that.
So the company proposed to sell 64%. Well, NROCC proposed at the time to sell 64% of the company to the market, and they upsized it to 80%. So they sold 80% to raise $14.1 billion, and that was $1.41 per share, or 1 US cent. This offer for sale, is set for the remaining 20% to the target of about $9 billion at 360, or 0.0228 USD. So quite a considerable increase. But I think the strategy has changed, especially with the departure of Dr. Clark, because at the JSC's 2024 conference, I get from his comments at the time that he wanted the government to retain some level of interest in TJH, directly. Because remember at the time when Dr. Clark said, hey, we wanted to move the JPS shares, the TJH shares, and the South Jamaica Power shares into a holding company and list on the JSC. Now, Dr. Clark is no longer here. The government has budgetary plans it has to meet and have expenditures to also plan for. So, this sale, it kind of works out perfectly. The government would have collected through NROCC billions in dividends over the last 5 years. Shareholders would have benefited, well, the general public, the wider Jamaican public could have benefited from the increase in the share price, the dividends as well. So it's been a win-win all around. And with this sale, you're going to have this chance right now whereby Jamaicans far and wide would have a greater chance to gain access to an asset that they can see and understand. So everybody, well, most persons living in Portmore have to use the toll road. That's the largest revenue generating portion of TJH. They are not to operate phase 1C from Maypen to Mandeville, or Williamsfield, I should say. So it's all good for the upside for TJH going forward. I'm looking forward to seeing what the government does going forward to raise more funds, because they want to list Jamaica Mortgage Bank, they want to list the BPO assets of the Port Authority. So we're likely going to see in the next 2 years, depending on if the government remains in power as is, more of these asset sales to the market, which will give us exposure to asset classes that weren't typically available for the regular Jamaican. And just the final additional comment was the Atlantic offer is fully underwritten, Kalilah. So all the company needs to do is 100 shareholders for the listing requirements, and they can let it close it very quickly. So you're not going to see the offer stay open very long. It's basically open and shut. And on top of that, I just think the prospectors could have a lot more information, considering it was a leverage buyout, and the management and the future stakeholders have a very different vision that I don't think was properly articulated in the prospectus.
I agree. So I had kind of had to read between the lines to understand what was going there. And I'm glad that we had their CEO on to kind of explain it. But there could have been a lot more information there indeed.
Thanks, Kalilah. So, good luck to all the investors in this upcoming TJH offer. The government has this budget debate on March 11. Offer closes March 18. So it's a 2-week window that's going to be open for officially. So that tells you that there is likely some level of significant demand from institutional investors before this offer even opened.
Wait, so TJH opens March 4th next week.
Correct. It's a 2-week window. So from March 4th to March 18th, it officially opens. Keyword officially opens. So it's a two-week window. So the fact it's only a 2-week window and not a 4-week window kind of tells you that money out there is ready to go with TJH shares.
That's true. That's a good point.